they definitely deserve this final spot out of the 10 teams. And into the series up against FPX, it's going to be a fun one because both of these teams have already confirmed their positionings for the summer regular split, and FPX have unfortunately been eliminated from NIP. They got a pentakill, quite literally, to all the 5 teams in the LPL. So maybe a bit of a revenge match just to mess with the standings of NIP.
I still don't know if that's ever happened in competitive League of Legends, but I love that NIP did it. We're also in NIP's home arena in Shenzhen as you hear the Gyos ring. See if that home field advantage can help them against FPX. Again, now at this point, I'm just trying to see how crazy these games can get, and especially between these two.
LWX!
I will say
Classic.
FPX is probably still feeling a little salty, all right?
Look, I don't know if that's a really good start for my boy LWX, already burning the flash at 1 minute into the game.
Don't worry about it. He's giving them a handicap.
It's just seeing Braum and Ashe doing their level 1 thing where if one auto attack, if one Q connects from this glacial duo, it's so difficult to run away without that ghost in particular. But this game, you had to take the cleanse. You're up against the Sejuani, you're up against an Ashe, so LWX, you have to be very careful because Shadow is that aggressive jungler that would love to gank you early.
And that's what I found so interesting coming into this is, you know, FPX are not necessarily the most proactive team we have in the LPL. I mean, obviously sitting at 4-10, you're not going to be very proactive when you're losing. But specifically, they aren't that team that's just going to be fully prioring objectives early on, stacking those things up. They like to take their time. And NIP don't like to take their time. They like to press you as much as possible. So our big spotlight tonight is to see if Shadow versus Hacker is going to amount to anything. But also, we have 2 legendary ADCs between LWX and Photic down here, and 2 comps that I feel like play to their individual strengths a lot.
Yeah, and if you just take a look at the overall champion pool for Hacker and Shadow in comparison, it makes sense because Hacker, he's been finding a lot of success with champions like the Kha'Zix, like the Nocturne, where you are looking to full clear and slowly get to that level 6 and play around those mid-game skirmishes, while Shadow, a huge fan of the Poppy, even Invincible has been picking up this champion, which, might I add, 4 games on it so far in the summer, 100% win rate, so it is a dangerous pick to give over to NIP. I'm assuming got banned. I unfortunately didn't get to skim over that, but Shadow, once again, he needs to get stuff happening in this early game and have something like the Sejuani. A lot of people seem to forget that Sejuani is kind of an assassin when it comes to those 1v1s in the enemy jungle.
And plus, you know, you got Photic scouting things out for you with the inherent Freljordian combo there. Seeing Sejuani and Ashe and Braum down there. And then they have Shurima and the other 2. It feels like we're playing TFT at this point.
God, so Azir's broken in TFT and he's broken in League of Legends.
Yeah,
Kai'Sa's also the same thing.
He's broken at home
right,
and in real life. Oh my goodness.
Hopefully Angel can have a 3-star Azir performance for tonight because I feel like Angel has been quite the interesting case coming into summer. Of course, being the new mid laner of NIP, coming from RNG from the start of the year, not finding that much success and kind of dropping the ball in the middle of a playoff spring. I think finding a home alongside Shadow where they are able to keep with each other's craziness is the key to go. But of course, securing that 10th position, you know, just fighting for a better standing in the playoffs is going to be the first step. And I feel like with the current meta evolving and how Angel's been able to adapt with expand his champion pool, it is a great development for this guy.
Yeah, we're about to see them combine right here as Care has stepped up trying to get the solo kill onto Angel before he does, and he gets it. He's going to outplay maybe here with Hacker coming around the edge, but it should just be a return as the flash comes through. Goes for the wrong one. Oh no! Shadow can't connect the damage. He's just going to go down. Oh my goodness. We said they were a little bit salty, but it's Care who's angry.
This is an absolute disaster for NIP. We just completely cast curses Angel and Shadow for this game 1. I mean, shout out to Angel. He didn't burn the flash. He really thought he could live that combo coming out of Care's Nico. And then Shadow just ordering the clone to
that feels
be the final
so
touch.
bad. But you got to give it up to Care. I feel like who has been a piece that FPX have been trying to build around for a long time, right? And to see little moments, even in a down-and-out season, where you're like, no, I'm stepping up, and I'm going to take out Angel here before you can do anything. That's just awesome decision-making.
Yeah, Care's always been a very interesting player for FPX because he has these great games when it comes to the summer split where he has that carry potential, just finding solo kills in the lane while we get a slow zoom in of Shadow autoing that plus 25 gold on. Did he even get gold for killing the Nico clone? I don't think so. So unfortunately, even the blue buff goes over to the Nico. And we already know that this champion given over to the blue side is quite the risky one. And now he has extra wave clear up against Angel. So that does deny a lot of angles for Shadow and Zhuo to work up for these major objectives.
And like we were saying earlier, that is where NIP find a lot of their resources to deliver around the map, right? Like Photic is a guy who will carry you a team fight every single time, but you got to get him there. And they've been able to rely on Invincible every now and then. I think this Renekton still is a very strong pick, especially with the lead he has in lane. But now that this duo is a little bit set behind, it's really FPX who had the forward foot.
Yeah, and talking about Photic, I really wanted to highlight how NIP, they've been having a lot of experimental drafts coming this summer, especially with the Tristana and the Ziggs party in the LPL. And might I add, I believe Ziggs is a 100% win rate champion so far with 6 games on it. And it's been explored by top teams as well. I believe Jackie Love's played it, Gala's also had a game on it as well. But Photic, I mean, one of his series, he just completely carried the side of NIP to that series win. And it just gave me such an everlasting impression. And I feel like NIP kind of introducing this flexibility is going to catch some teams off guard.
It truly can. We are actually going to see the team that I said was not proactive be proactive. Get their dragon first up. Minute and a half after spawn, not too shabby. We'll get that Ocean Dragon for themselves. And we actually do see now a little bit of movement here that will be happening for Hacker towards this top side. Maybe a little all-out going on in this top side. Speaking of, Invincible goes under that turret. Takes that extra shot, will pop the Dominus. So ulti's on both sides.
Don't know if Invincible needed to pop the ultimate on this Renekton. I think he could have held on to it as Xioalaohu did just disengage with that dash at the very end. But like you said, FPX, they're the ones that pick up that first dragon, utilizing Kair's party on this mid lane as we just get a little bit of a juke. We really need either lanes of this Azir or the Nico getting that lane party so they can start rotating towards that Rift Herald. I mean, with those plates going into either champions is going to be key, but let's also bring the entire conversation back to bottom lane because we've kind of moved away from the Aphelios Jinx meta. Now we've been seeing a lot more Varus and Ashe, where it is more utility based, and that allows for mid lane champions to shine a lot more. And I believe even in Yagao's interview that we had for one of the B roles, mid lane is a lot more interesting and you have a lot more carry potential, and that also kind of depends on how your jungler plays around you because you have so many more options nowadays.
Yeah, I love that for the LPL because we have such incredible mid laners and a lot of mid jungle duos that are so potent. As we do see Shadow and Hacker up towards top side, it'll just be ships in the night up here. But I do appreciate that conversation about the ADC because I feel like for so long it's just been grab Aphelios whenever you can in an LPL draft, and you have a potential to win the game with a big Moonlight Vigil, right? Like, we've seen so many times, so many clips go through. But I appreciate the fact that we get a lot of our decisive ADCs picking up these picks that are still so influential within the mid game, but also can be some hyper carries in the late game, right? A lot of those attack speed builds are huge.
The problem is we're trading Aphelios Jinx meta for Shiv meta in the bottom lane. And we're getting AP, Kai'Sa, and Varus where they're just poking you from 2 screens away, so
it's gonna leave one day, Kitty. It's gonna leave one day. Oh, a little bit of trade back. There's the cleanse coming out from LWX, as well as a couple summoner spells the other way around. Photic just gonna be kiting out a little bit. So heavy trades on bot side, but we are focused around the Rift Herald now. It did look like FPX had already started it up. Sniffed out by NIP.
We will get resets faster from the bottom side of FPX first towards this Rift Herald. Oh, they just canceled their backs, never mind. They just canceled it, but we'll have to wait and see because we do have level 6s online for the mid jungle duo, of course, but I feel like one of these supports really need to be that number advantage for NIP, and it does seem like Zhuo is going to be the one. Can we just let them back, man? Just let them reset.
No.
We have such a scrappy 2v2 in the bottom side, denying these reset angles, but FPX once again being the ones first to play.
And that's a huge step up, right? Like we were talking about it. It's not a consistent good stat to look at if you're looking at anything proactive for FPX in terms of objectives, in terms of map advantages, things like that. But when they do, they at least have a really prominent position in the game. And I think they still need to figure out what they're going to be doing as lanes transition, get some of these plates going down, continue stacking up these objectives, especially the dragons. Because I do have an inkling that NIP's brawl is about to get a little bit heavier.
And the unfortunate fact is, I feel like with the current meta, it suits FPX so much more with Kai'Sa and Rel being reintroduced as the priority on enchanters have gone down. These early games are a lot more active, and I feel like especially with an AD carry like Lingwei, LWS, I just call him by his Chinese name, but with an AD carry like him, who is a championship AD carry, he's more than happy to really take that aggression and start using that potential to find those early game leads. But unfortunately, this meta kind of got introduced too late into the season. We are in the last week of regular split and FPX already eliminated, so we'll have to wait to see what they can do, because we need to also talk about the development of this roster so far. They've always had a bit of a expectation going to summer because of course you have LWX and you also have Hacker who have so much experience in the league, but unfortunately with some sub-ins and subs out in the top lane, it kind of staggered their development and we never really saw these players play to their full potential.
I have truly appreciated Chocho's addition down here for LWX, right? LWX is the pillar that stands from FPX's World Championship. He's also the pillar that NIP are looking at to take advantage of right here. We'll find him out, though, as he doesn't have cleanse. He doesn't have any way out. There's the flash. No follow-up from NIP. That was nice distance creating, and those chains of corruption going to be able to lock down a decent amount of NIP's forward aggression.
What a heroic moment from QuiQiu. The ultimate from Photic lands onto LWX as he doesn't have the cleanse available, and Shadow was looking for the Glacial Prism to connect as that follow-up, but QuiQiu on the Alistar pops the Unbreakable, just blocks everything and denies that angle away.
This positioning, actually, it's going to force Hacker's flash here. I like that move, but now you got Care to deal with and cease and desist across the whole way. He just traveled miles and miles, and how many miles you got to walk to go down into the dirt? Photic picks up the kill.
Our FPX, start buying those mech treads. You desperately need them against this NIP roster. The Braum, the Sejuani. There's way too much CC. Hacker, once you're in, I don't know if you're getting out, buddy, but he is going to delay that as he does pick up that Ruby Crystal.
Had the Black Cleaver, but didn't help you there. There's a lot of distance covered, but those are the things that NIP can take advantage of with a lot of the mobility that they have with their composition. You do want to see a little bit more pressure for Angel in the mid lane. The Shadow connection needs to be alive for NIP to have success, as we've seen in their past.
Yeah, a bit of a fumble in this early game with Hacker dying and giving the red buff over to Photic, but with the Dragon getting spawned, Invincible does have the TP available. He also has the Gore Drinker, while Xioalaohu has to make his way down. But NIP, they're going to contest for this. We have ultimates available for Care.
Could be a pretty stable fight here. NIP will be burning down the Dragon. There's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, though, as TP does come down, as you mentioned. LWX tries to steal it, but Shadow just takes it. Invincible has Dominus. He's looking pretty aggressive. Chains of Corruption, though, and they turn back on the croc. He will get all out, and Xioalaohu will take him out.
These fights are scrappy, and that's exactly what we expected coming into this game. I feel like Invincible didn't need to walk up there after securing the second Dragon away from FPX, and FPX were the ones trying to look for a return kill as they just gave away the objective for free, now working off this numbers advantage. They're looking for the vision control.
Photic doesn't have a lot of mana here. They're going to TP back, and there's the Pot Blossom. 2 down, and Photic falls to LWX. There's the Hex Gate out, and Shadow's playing with a little bit of that arcane tech here, as that is just going to be the chase down. I don't know if they necessarily have the damage, but they were able to touch him.
Mazel?
Oh my goodness, there's no way he makes it out of here. He's going to go for the Hex Gate. No!
Oh,
he didn't make it. Oh, Sedge.
Well, I've seen too many times of Shadow being on the wrong side of the map for some reason, always near the enemy base before that 15-minute mark. But yeah, Care just getting a nasty Pop Blossom onto the NIP roster, and I feel like NIP just kind of disrespecting this Nico pick a little bit, fighting in the jungle, especially with Invincible just going down. And that's without Care using his ultimate, so a huge teamfight coming for FPX and fixing their early game problem.
Yeah. And they also have big item spikes now coming back out on the map, too. We're going to take a look back at it.
I mean, it's just Angel being pushed in the mid lane, so he didn't have first move to this play, as Hacker and Chocho working together perfectly and just locking down Photic, as he did have the flash available, but this flash ultimate from Care just connecting onto the carries of NIP, as Shadow makes a desperate run for it, but going to the wrong side of the map, so 5-1 start for the FPX roster, and care on this Nico. This is why you don't let this champion open for blue side.
Yeah, you just can't. We see it so many times, and it punishes so many times. Yes, you have the odd one out where you can get the Nico, no resources early, and you're able to take that out. But we've seen also so many times where it just rips apart team fights. And now with the belt completed, we also have the static shift for LWX. The push is real right now for FPX, and they can utilize that pressure very easily.
And it is just snowballing how Care was able to get that solo kill onto Angel in the early game, and now all the mythic items are coming online for the carries of FPX. But so far so good. I feel like Azir as a champion, it is such a slow scale. We just saw this champion getting played multiple times in the TT versus LNG series, where he desperately relies on that 3-item spike, and he doesn't provide as much compared to a Nico when it does come to these major skirmishes. And FPX, I mean, they're just utilizing this timer really well alongside Hacker on this vibe, making stuff done in the early game.
Actually, see, Shadow put a little bit of fire here. He's gonna give it right back to the Phoenix. And Care actually has Angel collapsing pretty heavily. There's the Pop Blossom under turret, though. Nobody's been able to damage him just yet. The turret is not helping yet. Now he goes down, though. And that's a big Emperor's Divide to push Chocho out. That's NIP with a beautifully executed dive onto Care.
I saw a world where Care gets a return kill. Unfortunately, the root from the Nico came out 1 second too late, and he wasn't able to secure that extra CC onto Angel. Or I think it would have been a 1-for-1 trade, but 2-2 also not being there fast enough does allow NIP to scramble back into this game by picking up that 1 kill. But I feel like that 1 kill shouldn't be too much of a problem for the side of FPS, as they did trade it off for that Rift Herald. And this Rift Herald most likely going to be placed in the mid lane to open up the map, and that's going to stop this Azir so much from these side lanes.
And it's just so awesome, honestly, to see FPX putting such priority on these early objectives as well for themselves. And now looking at the proactivity that a Rift Herald can bring for them, as they are hovering very heavily around this bottom side. You also have the Dragon coming up in about 50 seconds. And it has been split so far. They're going to try to break down this bottom turret, get a little bit of pressure that way, potentially reset, go for that Dragon.
It's a little worrying how NIP has so much great setup to force these picks on the side. I mean, although you have the K'Sante in the top side, I feel like Invincible on this Renekton, he does have a slight lead when it comes to the first 15 minutes, but you've already missed that opportunity, and now the K'Sante is going to slowly become a nuisance when it does come to the isolated matchup, as the Renekton no longer has what it takes to take advantage of this K'Sante into Renekton. But once again, I feel like NIP, they need to start forcing something early on into the map. They need to start playing around Photic and Zhuo, because they have such potent follow-up CC if you do land that initial engage.
They do. I will just say, though, that side lane charge, getting that extra one for the Rift Herald, that's huge. They also take the mid lane. We did get a trade in top side for Angel, getting one down. But the conversation now becomes, we already have FPX in position in front of this Dragon Pit, and they're already starting it up.
We do have TP coming out of Angel towards that mid lane, but NIP is so late to this. They have no vision whatsoever, so I don't know if they can look for the fight.
Already gone. The TP's there. You have 2 items for Hacker with the Radiant Virtue completed, so they want to fight. The Pop Blossom hits on a 3 here as well. They got the knockups to follow. Invincible's just trying to lag behind, trying to get onto the team. He is locked down CC. Look at that decisiveness as FPX pick apart NIP piece by piece.
So FPX get their second dragon, and they get 2 kills of the solo laners in NIP. I just feel like that fight wasn't NIP's to take, but even Angel committing the TP meant that they were looking for some kills after FPX secured that major objective, but it just wasn't the right time. Angel's way too late, but even with the ultimate available from Angel, he wasn't able to react to this engage from FPX, as Terra follows up with a really nice Black Pop Blossom as Invincible on this Renekton, not finding too much success as well. Instantly focused down by this FPX roster, and LWX goes untouched the entire fight.
I can't believe with that much health and a core drinker, he died that fast. That's
gone.
Actually incredibly awesome to see from FPX. I know I've said that a couple times. This has been a team that we've had some disheartening moments for them in this split. All right, I'll just say that outright. And it's really cool to see them being able to pull this together, especially against a team that knocked them out of contention with that pentakill of teams that NIP had. And it's really the pieces each showing off, right? We came into this one wanting to see what can happen, what kind of fireworks we get between LWX and Photic. Well, it seems like the fireworks were only bought by one side, and it's LWX so far.
Yeah, my biggest critique for FPX for summer was that I thought that when it did come to these major 5v5 team fights, that they just executed it way too fast and they didn't really allow LWX to DPS to his full potential. But these team fights have been going so well through the setup, through Care and Hacker on this Vi Nico duo, where LWX, he can be standing 2 screens away, because if you look at NIP's roster, Photic on this Ashe with the Kraken as well. I mean, if you're not autoing in these team fights, you're pretty much useless. But how do you realistically auto attack against a Varus and a Neo and the Vi, where if you do walk into that range, you're pretty much going to get focused down?
And if you don't focus on any of those, then you got a wild bull hitting you from the backside as well with Jojo. There's just so much lockdown that you can't really play with the limited range that the Ashe brings to the table. So right now, right, Photic is looking for those enchanted crystal arrows to really be of influence, and that's where I do still go back to that conversation we had earlier of the ADC meta, and I like the utility, but that is where, you know, time goes on, you're gonna wish you had one of those big gun carries coming through here. And even though maybe the Varus has some question marks later on, right now you can ride that momentum.
We often see AD champions paired alongside the Sejuani and the Ashe, like the Jace. And Angel has played it in the summer split so far, and there's also a decent answer in Nico, although you do lose the early levels. Once you pick up that serrated duck, you should be able to put up quite a punch up against this champion, but we'll have to wait and see, because we're not too sure what happened in BP. As Invincible, he gets engaged on.
Chocho's right behind him as well. Xioalaohu, who is looking for a little bit, can't get that Q3. It was a little bit of a dicey situation for Invincible, not the slicing dice. Now Hacker will find Zhuo out as Photic and Shadow just trying to push that wave through. I do like that we have some item completion for NIP, right? We're sitting on 2 items for a majority of members at least. But it's still FPX that are looking for a lot of control around the map, and this is something we haven't necessarily been able to always see. And they have just the complete catch-out tools now that they are in decision-making priority.
NIP's just kind of begging on the fact that they stop FPX's dragon stacking and hope that Angel reaches his 3rd item. That's when Azir starts getting potent. He's already level 14, and 16 is the magical number when it comes to these scaling mages. And that's where FPX should really consider closing the game out, because I feel like they don't really have the answers to get onto this Azir unless they have flashes available. But lucky for them, Care has the flash and also Protobelt to close that gap. But at the end, I feel like maybe through a flank is the way to go, as the 3rd dragon is going to be spawning in 30 seconds. Double stopwatch is available for the side of NIP. Can they rush the Baron as a response?
They did just get Trinity Force for Photic. That's pretty nice. We saw the helicopter there. But I just don't know if they can necessarily finish it fast enough right now. I like the Nashor's Tooth build for that. I think you do have a lot of sustained damage for NIP right now, but I feel like 3rd item is where you can really threaten like an insta-take there. So they're out of decisions right now besides getting ready to set up for this dragon, unless they want to give this one up. But a soul point for FPX just opens up so many more avenues for them.
And it's Hex Soul. Do you think Hex Soul is more broken or Inferno?
I think Hex. I think the damage chain plus slow is nutty.
Yeah, the slow
Inferno
is
feels
so
worse
obnoxious.
if you're against like a very carry-oriented composition, but yeah.
Alright, Photic. Did it hit?
It did, but does it matter? Probably not. There we go. It goes down. So that's 3rd dragon for FPX again. Now they have so much prio on the map the next time the dragon does spawn. We'll see a transition of vision up towards this top side for sure, and NIP just trying to buy time for themselves.
I mean, we have a silent achiever in the bottom lane as well. Xioalaohu on this Cassante just took tier 2 bottom tower in broad daylight up against Invincible, and this Cassante champion is going to be such a nuisance for NIP to deal with. Only Angel can realistically have the damage to finish him off, even if Shadow does look for a bit of pressure onto the side lane. But like he said, now 3rd dragon for the side of FPX. Luckily, NIP was able to deny that 2nd one away, or this dragon stacking would have been game over pretty much, because Angel is still so far away from his 3rd item, where I feel like he needs his Void stuff ASAP, or even the Rabadons to make up for that, because Ashe, we always see her as that utility AD carry. But to wait and see, because Photic on this Ashe so far, it's been okay but I would have much preferred an Aphelios if you're going to play this route.
Yeah, that's the kind of conversation we're having where, you know, maybe when the game gets long, you really wish you had a hyper-scaling carry that has those big damage numbers. But now, we'll see if they can fight back a little bit. The Gaze for Prison comes out. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow also comes out. So that's a lot of tools. Peel and Engage gone.
Good flash.
QuiQiu taking the brunt of Photic with that Trinity Force. Almost goes down, does have to flash out in the end. But you see how much Photic can do if he gets the right damage, the right range at least, and is able to actually hit.
That is the highest value of Chains of Corruption I've ever seen in my life. LWX CC around 3 people of NIP and completely disengaged the fight from this Varus alone, as QuiQiu was the one getting caught out because Photic had a really clean flash to dodge out on the Alistar combo. But here do you see NIP getting a little bit desperate, throwing ultimates out, but none of them are connecting. As FPX, they're picking up their 3rd items now. LWX just got his Rift Maker, and this Varus, he's gonna start hurting.
That is not good news for NIP, but we actually see a capitalization in the side lane being cooked up here. As the turret's not very healthy, but Hacker is right here to respond, so it will turn into a 2v2. I actually favor FPX here. Look at that. They favor themselves, too, as the TP's coming down, and you get the all-out potentially coming through from Xioalaohu to separate the fight here. The TP did not go all the way. Maybe you can have the distance. Their Pop Blossom comes out. There's the all-out finally, but Shadow's here as well. Dominus will not save you today, Invincible. It is a trade back and forth, though. Invincible for Hacker so far. As NIP want to keep pushing this, they realize they have him on the back foot, and there's LWX's Chains going out again.
Why do we have a 5v5 in the bottom lane at 26 minutes when there's no dragon available? This is LPL, and this is kind of what we expected out of these two teams.
This is when top 10 is already locked.
Angel TP's mid lane. Pretends nothing happened in the bottom side as we had a 1-1 trade. Honestly, MVP arrow out of Photic, Ash's arrow just bought so much time for Invincible to get that trade onto Photic, onto Hacker on this Vi, of course, but FPX kind of late to the play as they rotated all 5 and also committing Kare's Nico TP towards here. But we'll get another replay of what happened. We talked about how Angel had to be there if they do want to contest this Asante on the side, as Angel using that stopwatch to stop a Hacker's ultimate. I feel like this Azir ultimate kind of came out a little bit early, could have also pushed Kare away. Bit impatient on that, but look at this one, landing onto Hacker and seizing him for 10,000 years as Photic was so far away. At the end, a bit of a nice trade as Angel was the one that kind of comes out on top.
I was interested that Kare didn't just go all out for Angel there, because I feel like Angel was the one that was separating a lot, but now we can't even talk about that because FPX were forcing the hand of NIP by starting the Baron, and Invincible has already popped his dominance. That does mean FPX pull away, but they got what they came for with the attention of NIP in mid.
They have lost all control of this mid tower though, so if NIP secures this, it does open up the map so much more with the dragon spawning in 50 seconds.
They're playing really aggressive here though. That was a little bit of an overstay. They don't take the turret, but they also don't die, so you take that 10 times out of 10. But you do have dragon 40 seconds from now, and NIP need to be able to put up a fight for this one.
The scary thing is because Angel used the stopwatch from that previous exchange, Kare now can set his eyes onto this Azir. And Photic also needs to play around Angel for this upcoming team fight. They really want to have maximum front-to-back potential, but FPX is just storming down mid.
Oh my god. They can just take it. Look how much they do. And now they go for the Pop Blossom. Photic gets caught. They completely focus him down, but you got the stopwatches, and now you got the TP from an Invincible. He's coming in. He's a big angry Croc. Is it going to be enough, though? You already lost Photic without even using that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Shadow tries to go in, but misses the Arctic Assault. They're trying to get in, but look at the backline here. Invincible! Invincible's trying to eat him up. Invincible can be the only savior at this point, but now he's put himself out like a dried piece of meat. As that's all she wrote there. 2 kills to Hacker. And it is a bit of a defense coming through for NIP.
Angel just got completely wrecked in that team fight with the Forest coming out of Hacker as well, but that's double carries down Hexol. Started up by FPX. Shadow is alive and he has that smite available. Can he steal this away?
I was hoping we were going to get a burger flip, but it doesn't look like they want to go for that one here. They realize what was going on. They'll back away from the dragon. Don't want to risk that one. They could just get a reset coming through and get right back on the map.
FPX, such a disciplined decision, letting go of this dragon and looking for those resets. They don't need to flip the game from this fight. They came out on top, getting the 2 carries as well, now utilizing the Hex Gates to get there as fast as possible.
Just right back. It's so
But
fast.
they don't really have vision set up other than the 1 ward on the dragon pit. As LWX, he's top side right now. Wait, that's Care.
Gotta love Nico.
Nice one.
As we do see them actually starting this one up, trying to force FPX over here. Invincible's over on the side, does have Dominus. We have a lot of cooldowns, at least in Summoner Spells down. That's taken by LWX, and that's the soul. The Invincible's trying to come here, try to save his backline. Can they do it? Front to back here now, NIP. Hacker goes on to Angel over the wall. He has to go golden, and LWX has been free firing this entire time. They're just playing with their food at this point, and that's everybody but Shadow taken out.
All right, wrap it up, boys, with the Hexal confirmed by LWX. He is going to be the main carry of this game 1 with absolute style on this Varus as well, considering how the early game went for the Varus and Alistar. But FPX with a very convincing game 1 up against NIP.
And LWX, the pillar that we said, that FPX has completely built around, I feel like, at this point. They've been trying developmental pieces. They've been building around this carry, and he steps up when it matters most every single time, it feels like, in these little moments, in these revenge moments for FPX. And they'll take at least game number 1. We'll see if they can take them out one last time, try to get some improved KDAs. And they will just wipe the board with them one more time before we exit game 1 with an FPX win.
Don't know why I highlighted. All right, Photic's alive. Like, he's gonna save the entire Nexus from exploding, but he just instantly got focused down once again. But FPX, a great start for the night, and I feel like it's not just LWX being that pillar.